And welcome back. I'm super excited that you're here. Today, we're going to talk about something that's going to help take some of your problematic employees and help you reframe them with actionable action steps and help them get developed so that you not only perceive them as helpful and useful within your business, but they actually are helpful and useful within your business. All right. All right. So if you have enjoyed this, please do me a favor, go ahead and share, give a thumbs up, give a like. You can also post this episode to any of your social media and tag hashtag Dear Brenda, if you would please. I'd greatly appreciate that. Love the reviews. Read every single one of them coming in, and I've gotten some DMs coming in. I read all my DMs. I respond to all my DMs. So thank you very much. I do that personally. I don't have a bot that does it for me. It's all me. All right. So today we're going to be talking about 3 effective ways to develop your problematic employees and actually start to help you reframe your view of them through the actions that you're actually taking. And you know what this is like. I mean, we all have a problematic employee, and even our most problematic employees actually have skills and they have positive attributes. But sometimes we kind of get stuck in the negative and don't see ourselves working through the positive. So usually we put things on the employee like they have a bad attitude about something, and that may very well be the case. They may very well have a bad attitude, but you know what? You can still work to develop them despite an attitude. And believe it or not, the actions that you take could actually turn that attitude around into something more positive. It takes time, it takes work, but I'm going to give you some steps that you can take to start making that process happen. All right. So the very first thing that you need to do anytime I have a client that has come up to me and say, oh, I've got this guy, or oh, I've got this woman, she's just whatever. I always talk about, okay, we're going to get to them, but let's talk about you first. Okay. You got to get yourself together before you take action steps to deal with this person. If they haven't done something like horrifically egregious to where you just need to terminate them right there in the moment because what they've done is so bad that it's absolutely appropriate for let your temper, your frustration, your disapproval, your disappointment, like all the things that would come with that show, then so be it. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody either over time or in a short period of time has become what you've labeled as a problematic employee, but you probably don't really have the ability to get rid of them. Sometimes that happens, right? Or you see that there's still potential in this person, yeah, like that. Yeah, he's got something to say about it. There's still potential with this person, but you're not really quite sure what steps to take in order to make things happen. Right. So look, the very first thing that you have to do is get right with yourself, meaning take a step back, take a breath, and just say, okay, I'm going to look at this logically, and I'm going to look at this without much emotion. And that's kind of a hard thing to do. I'm going to be honest with you, but you got to get right. Just admit to yourself what it is that's bothering you the most about what this person has done, has said, or has not done, or hasn't said. Just get right with it. Realize that you have an opportunity right now to potentially make a difference. And this is the reframing process. If you say, if I have a conversation with this person, there is a chance, if I have the right conversation with this person, there's a chance that I can take that undesired behavior and convert it into desired behavior. Because after all, that's what development is all about. Leadership is not hard, right? But it can be, leadership is hard. Oh my gosh, what am I talking about? Leadership is difficult. It's challenging. It's one of the most challenging things that you're going to do. But it also can be approached in very simplistic manners. And this is one of those approaches that you can take. All right. So the first thing that I want you guys to do, other than having your dog stop barking. Okay. So the first thing to do is actually sit back and determine what the need is that you have for them in your company. Okay. And how you do that is start to look for the true underlying need for their abilities, the things like we all have gifts, we all have skills, we all have talents, right? And look for what it is that they can contribute and not just what shows up at the surface. Like, go deep. Just take a step back and look. Take time to take away your frustration. In other words, start looking at them from a lens of appreciation. What do you appreciate about them the most? What are their great qualities that they possess? What are the good things that they are capable of doing? Even though they may drive you absolutely batty, what are their gifts and their talents? You may never be able to get rid of what drives you crazy and batty, but you may diminish it through actually appreciating and looking at them through the lens of gratitude. Not, and when I say this, like, there are going to be people that's like, I'm not doing that. This person's going to take advantage of me and they're going to run off and their ego's just going to, we're not talking about them right now. We're actually talking about you. What are the things that you appreciate about what this person brings to your business that you like? And you know what? If you can't think of anything off the top, start small. Stack the wins by starting small. They show up on time. They don't call in sick. They don't use their PTO excessively. Right? Start looking at the thing. Their workstation is incredibly clean. They're insightful. They don't have a problem speaking up, even though that may be one of the problems that you're actually batting. Maybe not the fact that they spoke up, it's about what they said, right? So start looking at things that you appreciate about them. And ultimately, you're going to start seeing some of the good things that come up. That honestly is the first thing that reframes. Even though you may be upset with what they've done, you may be upset with what they said, or you may be upset with them stepping out of some form of integrity or virtuous character or something that you are judging and evaluating them for. Okay. I'm not saying anything that's bad. I'm just saying start reframing as to what you appreciate about them. And ultimately, what that's going to start to do for you is it's going to bring your blood pressure down. It really is. If you start looking at the benefits of somebody rather than the costs of the individual, you're going to find that you're going to get to a point that you can start processing and logically thinking through in a linear way that's going to serve you and the situation and ultimately the business. Plus, it's going to serve that person as well. It's okay to get frustrated and upset with people, but we tend to just write them off or we get rid of them so fast. I am a believer in hire slow, fire fast. But fire fast is going to be based off of flagrant, horrible, this person is incapable of, right? Those are the reasons why I would separate from somebody quickly rather than work with them to develop them in the areas that you're capable of developing them. Now, as you go through this process, if you're starting to think like, well, I'm not finding anything that I can use, well, this is a great opportunity to step back and ask yourself why. I was actually trying to pause that. It didn't pause. I didn't hit the button because the dog's barking. All right. Ask yourself why. And maybe the problem is their lack of a certain skill or there's a core value that wasn't instilled in their developmental years, right? It's like you believe in one thing and this is your core value, but it seems that they are lacking in this, okay? Or they lack confidence or they lack the right kind of mindset in order to do the job to the level that you need them to do it at, okay? Maybe there's only one time that you really have an issue is where you demand it or there's a demand for it, right? It could be only situational. Or what if you're overusing that person's competencies of some kind and it's now creating a weakness because that person is lashing out because all you do is constantly rely on that person for this one thing. And yet to them, it feels like they're being overused. You're not going to know that unless you sit down and actually have a discussion with them about this. You really aren't. Okay. Trying to guess only pushes you guys away. It doesn't bring you guys closer. And you know what? Sometimes conversations will reveal that you're at an impasse with somebody, but you know what it doesn't do? When you have that impasse, It doesn't mean that you've got distance. It means that you guys have come and you're meeting eye to eye, face to face, standing the same distance apart from one another. And even though you may come to that resolution, that's fine. But what hasn't happened is that there's a pushback, like far, far, far. Even generational differences, people still want to be treated as human. You have to remember that the people that you are dealing with are human, and that also will help with the reframing process itself. All right, so once you've developed the need for them, figure out what that need is in your organization, here's the next thing I want you guys to do. You've kind of started to do, venture down this reframing process, right? Now it's time to figure out, okay, so what do we need to work on? Okay. This is something you can, like I said, you do with your most difficult person, right? Even the most difficult employees that I have worked with, I have still been successful at developing to a certain level, and only to the level that they're willing to come to the table to. If you want somebody to come to the table further, then you're either going to have to work on that, or you just don't have the right person in place. And I would much rather see people make an honest attempt in getting somebody, to where you need them to be, rather than a constant flip over, or, honestly, unplugging their life or making things difficult for them because, suddenly you do have to separate from them. This whole process, when I mentioned earlier that I am a firm believer in hire slow, fire fast, during that process to where you have to make the determination as to whether or not somebody has to be fired fast, we're going through all of these things just to make sure that we've covered our bases. That way we've given this individual a fair shot before we make the determination, do we need to separate? Because this person has demonstrated that A, they're not willing to step up, and B, they're incapable of it. Okay, those are a couple of things. All right, so build the skill. That's what we want to do next. Start creating a plan or a strategy to actually build the skills that are needed. Now, if you come into a scenario where you adopt the team, that is going to be your first thing to do. If you're in a scenario where you hired the person in and it's very clear that they said they had the skill and they don't, hire slow, fire fast definitely kicks in. Okay. If they are incapable of the skill, like for instance, there's certain limitations that people have. I have a limitation, I'm dyslexic, right? There's nothing that you can do that is going to help me reverse what happens in my head when I see a 3, a 6, or an 8, because sometimes those things look all of the same. There's nothing that you can do skill building wise that is going to help me not misinterpret what is being said or what I read. This is just how I'm wired, right? But there are workarounds that are available for somebody like that. Okay. And if they're incapable, like for instance, like what I'm talking about, then find a workaround, right? But keep developing the person based off of their gifts, even if they're problematic. Promise you, if they're pushing back and they see that you're investing with them and you work with them on this next step, which I'm about ready to talk about, then they're going to start, honestly, they will loosen up. This is not a short process. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a long road to hoe. It really, really is. And you have to really pull through and use your emotional intelligence to not only reframe how you are about things, but how they are about things as well. Okay. They have a choice to make. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. All right. So consider that there's one of 3 avenues that you can take. Okay. You could, first off, focus in. This podcast is just not going to get recorded without him barking today, I tell you. All right. So you can improve something that they can do and do it average. That is one of your first options. Okay. This is what we want to consider as an enhancement strategy or an enhancement plan. Take what they are capable of doing average and then have them work on it. And so then that way they improve to a higher level of mastery. Okay. That is going to enhance skills. And those should be the skills that you know that this person currently has that you need within your organization. Okay. Second thing is you can also develop a zero skill set. In other words, if you see that somebody has not necessarily a single or a dedicated skill. Well, let's say, for example, you're looking at somebody in automotive, right? And you want them to be able to actually work on a specific type of motor, like the difference between like a hybrid motor, an electric motor, and a gas-based motor or a fuel-based motor, right? If the requirements or the skill sets are different, or they just haven't done it yet, you can actually go ahead and develop them on a zero skill set. In other words, you can give them an opportunity to do something completely new and build them up. Now all of a sudden you have somebody in your organization who's got competency around the possibility of doing a skill set, now becomes your subject matter expert. That's a pretty good strong win when you are working to actually build your team up. And it may even take you into the next business life cycle. It could get you prepared for launching that next widget that you've been planning on doing. Or as technology evolves, now you've got somebody in-house who's capable of doing it. Now, some people will actually say, that's a problem employee, and I don't want to reward bad behavior with opportunity. And you know what? I don't blame you for that. I really don't. If the person is just out there to be a complete ass, that was like having a bleeper right there, right, as soon as I said it. Okay. So if that person is just intentionally or is just an ass about things, you may not be able to reframe this person in your mind, or they may even not be able to step up because they're just personality wise, that's just who they are. But if you have somebody who's capable of actually taking these on, and it turns out that by them feeling the trust that you have in their ability and the fact that you've reframed your position on them, it could potentially change the entire outcome, right? So, give them an opportunity to develop on a zero skill set. And last is to go ahead and create a plan that exposes an employee to an untested area or something that they believe they have no skill at all. Now that's a little bit different than developing from a zero skill set. That's an absolute known, like, I know I don't know a thing about aerospace dynamics and launching a rocket up to the space station, but I do know about what has to happen to people who are in that rocket to launch it or that work on the rocket, right? But this is something to where all of a sudden everybody goes, hey, what if we tried this? And usually we're going to start thinking about going to our most prized employee and our top employee. But you know what? Why don't you say, I think we got an opportunity here to give such and such the ability to roll with this. So long as we set the right parameters and we work and educate this individual, let's see if they're able to actually do this. Put them to the test. See if it's something that they've got the capability on. And believe it or not, that may very well actually turn things around for you. Okay. All right. And lastly, as you're going through this process, all right, and you're developing somebody, make sure that you seek feedback and use these assignments that we just got done talking about as opportunities to nurture and grow from them. In addition to that, gives you an opportunity to coach that person and help reestablish the expectations that you want to see out of them. And that is a very big piece in all of this. Most people go to work with the expectation that they are going to be instructed and told on a regular basis of what they have to do. They are looking for you to do this. And if you don't, what happens is that you have somebody defining the position and ultimately defining the environment, and you're the leader, they're not. Next, that they flip that around. Next, they're the ones that are calling the shots, and it's frustrating the hell out of you because you're either the owner or you're the CEO or you're the division leader or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't set structure in place for somebody to follow and somebody to latch onto, and if you don't lead, somebody else is going to do it for you, and you're not going to enjoy the outcome of that. Okay. Give them opportunities to thrive and flourish, right? Be there when they need help or when they fall. Let them know that you are there when they need help or when they fall. Let them know that you are going to be there when you give them the opportunity to thrive and flourish, right? You don't have to be there only when they fall. Be there when they are doing the daily grind, and be there when they succeed, and celebrate those successes. When you celebrate somebody's success and they don't feel or they know that they're not a valued part of their team, you'd be surprised at how much their minds start to reframe their experience. It's a long road to hoe, and it'll take some time. But believe it or not, when they actually see that you value them as a person because they're winning and you're helping them stack wins, they're doing the work, but you're the one that's guiding them. You're the one who's dialing north in on that compass. Both of you are going to start to reframe. And that's a pretty cool thing. Now, before you start to extend or go after a grow and development and enhance plan, make sure that you sit down and you ask them what they want of their experience of working with your company. That's huge, because you're going to have your top achievers, you're going to have your steady eddies, and then you're going to have the bottom 10%. We all know what those are, right? They're just not going to survive, right? Even your bottom 10% are still worth this conversation. You know, you don't have to do an overextensive long stay interview with them. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend you don't, but at least ask them what they want to get out of the job. And if they just want to come, if they say, listen, all I want to do is come in, punch a clock, do what I'm supposed to do, and go home, because they only see this as a job, stop trying to make them massive winners, because that's not what they want to do. Set your expectation, hold them to it, thank them for doing the job that you hired them to do, and they'll keep coming in, punch a clock, do what they're supposed to do, and go home. That's why you hired them, right? It's okay to have those people. You're steady eddies, not they're people that you can count on. You don't even have to like really pay much attention to them if you don't want to, but I highly recommend you still make sure that you nourish and develop somewhat of a relationship with them, because you need your steady eddies. You absolutely need your steady eddies, okay? So when you meet with them, I promise you, and you ask them what it is that they want to get out of their experience out of working for your company, some of them might be cute, like they've never had anybody ask that question before. And that may flip things around for you. But honestly, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. I'm going to tell you one thing, that they actually, I promise you, they will tell you what they want. And they're going to be upfront about it because you asked the question. And that's the really great piece of this. All right. Once you've decided that, yes, this is the direction I want to start going in, it's mutual. We got two people who are like, yep, okay, we got some developmental opportunities here. The employees all in, you're in. In your conversation, you do have to lay out the price to have what they want, meaning that they have to commit to doing the work. You have to be clear on what that looks like for them. What does winning look like? And then you have to ask them the question, this important question: are you willing to do the work? Because if you're not, then this is not the right path for you. If they just say, yeah, lip service, and then they don't do it, it is what it is. Okay. If they don't like the price tag, then create a future or an environment that allows them to remain valued, not highly valued, because that comes with the price tag. But make sure that they feel valued and necessary, not highly valued to the point where you're worshiping them. I used to work with a girl a long time ago. She did the bare minimum. She was one of those lip service people. And because she had been in the position for so long, everybody started treating her as like, oh my God, she's indispensable. I'm like, are you kidding? She's working a front end position. She doesn't carry a lot of institutional knowledge as far as the business goes. She carries institutional knowledge on the process and the history, but she has never progressed beyond where she is. She has no desire to do so. So stop treating her like she is the queen of the business. She's not. She's an hourly employee who's highly reliable. She's nice. She comes in, but yet, you know what? She's the biggest gossiper on the planet. She's snarky behind everybody's back, and she portrays herself as being one way and is somebody completely different. Okay. that is somebody that you do want to acknowledge that they are valued and necessary, but they are not highly valued. She is not bringing in any money into this business. Now, if somebody doesn't want to accept the price tag that comes with growth and development within your organization, this is where you have to act in an appropriate way. Don't just say, okay, oh well, and walk away. You need to understand that people are going to immediately shift into a scarcity mindset. Okay. They're going to start believing that they are less than valuable because they said no. There's a very secret, hidden, unspoken fear that's going to start coming up. And if they don't step up when offered, their fears that they're going to be seen now as something less. And that's some of the reason why people actually don't take an opportunity, because if they fail, they're afraid as to how people are going to view them, or even worse, how they're going to view themselves. But if they start having that scarcity mindset, right? Or you can even get ahead of it by just assuring them, it's like, you know what, I understand, I appreciate your honesty, this is something you've decided not to move forward with, I totally get it. Just know that we appreciate you coming in and doing the work that you do, because we do need you. And if this isn't the path that you want to go, that's fine. You know what, let's just work on making you the best version of what you are right now, and just please keep doing the job that you're doing and you'll be good. Okay. You need them to do or execute the requirements of the job that you've set, so keep the road open for them to meet those expectations rather than trying to exceed them. Because when they say no, or they realize that this is not the kind of like investment in work that they want to make, and it's totally up to them, that's fine. Don't make them feel less for not saying yes. That's like a t-shirt slogan right there. Don't make them feel less for not saying yes, right? Just make sure that you treat them as you appreciate the job that they are going to continue to occupy. And honestly, if they are meeting the expectations, perfect. Every now and again, thank them for being stable. Thank them for being reliable. Thank them for working for your organization and being dependable. I mean, there's dependable can be a lot of different things, but when you have individuals that show up day in and day out and they do the same thing over and over and over again to the point where you don't have to worry about them, that's something that you should be thanking your folks for, right? You may have the mindset that you want everybody to be like the best version of themselves. You know what? That may be the best version of themselves. So congratulate them for that, even though you and I know differently, right? They're not improving for a reason, that they are satisfied at the level they are, and that's fine. If you are like me, where you're constantly in this mindset where you want to grow and develop and be better than you were a half hour ago or yesterday, that constant 1% increase of improvement, that's fine. That's our choice. But they've made a choice too. And we kind of have to respect that. Right. So don't sit there and start believing that everybody is capable of improving. They are capable of improving, but they haven't made the decision to do so. So don't start treating them badly or differently because they haven't made a decision to stay comfortable. It's okay. And like I said, you need those steady eddies. You need people to show up day in and day out to do the things that you hired them to do. And that is getting more and more difficult in this day and age. Do you want to celebrate it? No, but you can acknowledge it. You don't want to celebrate. You want to celebrate for your high achievers, right? You want to celebrate for the big, really cool things. And if those steady eddies are now starting to complain, it's like, well, we're always celebrating this person's thing. It's like, hey, you know what? If you want an opportunity to be successful in the business, let's revisit that conversation. And if they don't, then reset the expectations. Like, hey, around here, we celebrate excellence. What are you doing to be excellent day in and day out? Challenge them lightly on it. And maybe you might get them to start rethinking and reframing. It's like, we celebrate excellence, period. If you celebrate excellence, you know what? The people that are only capable of performing average may or may not wake up to it. And if they don't wake up to it, that's still on them. That's not on you. Sweet. All right. So I hope you guys found this useful today. I apologize for the coming in and out. We had Mr. Barker going on today. Mr. Nakoa let me know that all is not right outside and he is now taking care of business. So, listen, if you found this podcast helpful, please do me a favor, give us a rating, send us your feedback. We'd love to see it. Share it with somebody, and you can also follow me and on anybody on any of the social channels. I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And you can find me by, just hashtag Dear Brenda, or you can look me up at Brenda McBottle, which is actually, be honest with you, hashtag Dear Brenda is way easier to find me than trying to remember how to spell my last name. So, but thank you so very much. I hope this has been very helpful for you. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a good one, folks. Peace out.